protesters. And I think maybe the ones of us that grew up in the north, we saw the physical abuse, but I think we didn't experience the emotional abuse probably because we were all in the same group people, so I wouldn't know what it says. You cannot enter this toilet to go in that one because that's not the environment where I grew up. And I think that probably makes it easier for me than somebody who was in that situation.
Did you have to work through certain issues in your life as a child regarding color scheme where you grew up?
Not necessarily. Like I said, I went to a school where everybody spoke Shwango, we were all the same color. When I grew up, I came to a Shakati, it was more or less the same. So to me, yes, the color issue came if somebody comes in our house and they arrest my father. And I did not necessarily associate it with the black-white people because the Pufut were also black people that came. So yes, it was Swapo, then there was a Pufut, and I associated it more with that than probably necessarily with color because that is the events that I saw as I grew up when I was a child.
What have that done to you as a person today, being a successful professional woman?
Some of those things get me in trouble with everybody depending on who I'm talking to. And I think that is one thing in life I've got a way of getting myself in trouble because I like to be liked, but I do not necessarily do things that make people like me. And I said, depending on who I talk, for example, for me as a person, I think I was given the grace to work with a diverse team. And the fact that I came close to God, also my eyes were open, not to judge people, but yes, to judge actions. So let me tell you a few examples. When I started at PwC, and it was a white-dominated environment, there was this one guy who never greeted me, and I'm thinking, what is his problem? Is he a racist or what? Okay, and I spoke to one of my white colleagues, and she said, that guy, what is his problem? He doesn't greet people. So I said, okay, so he's not a racist, he's probably somebody who doesn't like women, okay? And then there was a white man who says, what is this guy's problem? So I made the decision, okay, the guy is not a racist, he doesn't like women, that is just who he is. And that's what I try to teach my children, that when it is easy normally to jump to color or to jump to gender and say they're treating me this way because I'm a woman, they're treating me this way because I'm black, they're treating me this way because I'm white. But they are just human beings. So look at them as a human being who's making a mistake, and if you correct them, you must correct them as a human being who's making a mistake. Not as a white person, not as a black person, not as a woman, not as a man, but as a human being. And that is normally the way. And yes, it has taken time for me to get to that place. And I actually feel that there's a few events in my life which have happened to help me get where I am. And I've got a few stereotypes in of my own. Some of them I've grown out to. Some of them I still get told by people like Stefan, Nangula, you shouldn't be saying that. So one day I was saying something and he told me, you shouldn't be saying that. I said, okay, so I should just be thinking it and not saying it. He said, no, you should actually not be thinking it. so they still have got that, but I believe that it's good when I talk about it, because then when we are open about it, we can have a conversation about it, and then I can hear somebody's view and I said, yeah, maybe that was not the best thing. But when we kind of close things and put a cover on it, then we never address them. So I think it's easy to. I was reading the other day, I think it was in Parliament, people were debating about what we bring for the white person and so on and so on. No, do not talk about black-white. That is racism. Withdraw it. And it was in the newspaper, and I'm thinking, that is actually our problem. We do not want to call things the way they are, but we are all thinking that way. And until we start whatever we think, we put it on the table and we address it, we will not be able to get over it, because we are hiding things. So I'm somebody who is sometimes putting sensitive issues, topics on the table, just because I believe the moment we open them up and we deal with them, then we grow up and we progress together as a team.
Would you say that you've used that philosophy in your position at PwC, and what has PwC done right?
So, yes, I have. You know, they said something that I read. They said that when we are young, circumstances determine what happens to us. When we get older, choices determine what happens to us. So wherever we find ourselves, instead of blaming other people, we must blame the choices that we make. It is ourselves who eventually make the choice. And I think Namibia is a great country, it's a great country of opportunities. Yes, we do have a pulse. So the one thing that we did at PwC, and that started with Dali's time, and I think Dali brought, so I tell people empowerment and transformation, and which are all of them I wish to call diversity. And I'll tell you why diversity, because I think empowerment and transformation are misused. And people think you replace one with the other, and I said diversity because we need everybody. So we just need to have a diversity. So let me interrupt myself before I come to that. So the other day I was invited at one institution to talk to them about diversity. So I started with a video that was spoken by one lady in the US. It says, be color brave. And whether it is color or gender, be brave with those things. So I asked them, okay, so who is missing from this crowd? It's an organization that has got a lot of black employees. And I think there was maybe one or two white males. So I asked them, who's missing here? We talked about it, and we are missing a white female. Where is the white female? So then we had the conversation about that one. And after we left, they actually came to me, but Nangula, you are right. So, but our problem is when we advertise, white Namibians don't come. Why do you think that is the case? I said, because they think you will not accept them. Okay, so we looked at it and said, let's look at your advert. What does the advert say? Previously disadvantaged groups are encouraged. So if I'm a white person, why will I apply? Because I know if a previously disadvantaged person applies, I will not even be shortlisted. So why do you need to put that if you are already 90% black anyway? So we had a conversation about it, and they actually said, it's a valid point. We are actually going to remove that from our advertisement if we want to be a diverse team. So what we started then I think with PwC a few years ago is the diversity, and we said that our company must reflect the demographics of Namibia. And the demographics of Namibia is white, black, colored, male, female. We want to make sure that we are represented. And when we're giving our bursaries and even setting our target for recruitment, we said that we want to recruit people from all categories. And we have got one rating with all my managers for the past few years have asked me to remove, which is employment equity. What input do I have? I just get given stuff. It's the partners that recruit. As a leadership is influence, you can influence your partners to recruit the people that you want. So we will not remove it. So at one time we promoted somebody that made a few people angry. So I said, okay, let us sit down across this table, and it was probably 40, 50 of us. And I said, everybody, we will look each other in the eye, and we will have an honest, open conversation about employment equity, about the past, and so on. And everybody has to promise me nobody will get angry, and nobody will take anything personal, and nobody will attack any other person in their person. Let's put it this way. And then have a conversation about it. What happened to Namibia in Namibia before independence? Was it fair? Because the point was, we have promoted a black person, it's not fair. And we say, yes, probably it's not fair, but let's talk about it. So we talked on the table, and we addressed the matters of what happened in Namibia. By the time we left, there was not one resignation, there was not anybody who was displeased, because we opened the conversation so that there is not back-chatting or behind talking, there is not grapevine, and so on. We all sat down and said, this is a business imperative. It's something which is important, which we need to do as an organization. And from that on, and we tell people, if we take a picture and we put it in the newspaper, whether you see our advertisement, you will probably see that our advertisements are nicely mixed group of diversity. So I normally tell people, okay, this is your team, you're going to a client. It doesn't matter what the client is. If the team is all white, if the team is all black, what will that client say? Then we will ask ourselves, okay? So I used to ask that question, take this photo. Before I know it, it is my partners that are saying, Nangula, this picture is this photo is too white. It's a white person who's telling me that. We need to put a few more black people here. This picture is too black. We need to put a few more white. And that is the openness. I think we opened about that one, and that helped us get over issues. So we do not talk about it behind us. We sit down and we confront it, and that helped us open to the diversity which is in our country and to working together as a team. One thing we did is we do not want to do reverse discrimination. So we said that I do not want where somebody is entitled to this position, but because they are a white male, we take them and replace them with a black person. That is not fair. And therefore we told each other where we need to grow and we need to identify people while they are early, and naturally the diversity will happen. And when we get a new business line, we can say, okay, now we have identified this new business line, let us put a black person here. So you can see our partners that we have admitted as associate directors in the past few years and in the next few years, it's diversity. It's not one group of people or the other, it is a diverse team that we are putting together. And that is something that we believe in.
And that might happen in PwC, but would you agree that there are places in our country that doesn't follow that philosophy and really practice reverse discrimination? And what would you say to people that are on the other end of this? How to deal with it?
Yes, I think there is somewhere where it's happening. And I think as a nation, there is a few things, like what you wrote there. We are challenging a few things. There is a nice scripture which says we do not war against flesh and blood. So it's spiritualities, it's strongholds, it's belief systems that were set in place for a long time. It's history and what we need to do. First of all, and I think that's why this is such a great initiative. Why we work well at PwC is because we have now grown to look at each other as human beings. We do not see colors. I've got my son the other day was saying, he only knows me and somebody else. I don't know how many mothers he has made. But he said he knows me and a mother of his white friend that do not look people at the color, they just see the people as human beings. And I think that is true of most people at PwC. We have grown and we are every day challenging each and every one of us to see people as human beings and to make sure that, but while you're doing that, you cannot take your focus away from diversity and just say, it will take care of itself. So depending on who I talk to, and maybe that's the reason why I say I get myself in trouble. So let me say, if I'm talking to young black kids at university, I told them, you will not want to be an empowerment candidate. You want to get something because you deserve it and you have worked hard for it. So do not go anywhere and throw employment equity and affirmative action in somebody's place and say, because I'm black, give me this place. Because you know what, if I go to the place where I am today at PwC, and I actually went to David when he wanted me to become a partner, I said, David, are you making me a partner because I'm black or because I'm a woman or whatever? Of course, I'm sure it played the role, but I want him to make me a partner first and foremost because I'm capable. And yes, it is a good thing for the firm if they can also get a black partner and a female partner. And that is what I try to tell our people, that as a black person, and maybe that is the way I grew up, I didn't have a lot of entitlement. I didn't feel like somebody owes me anything. I must work hard for what I want. And that is how I grew up, and that's what I tell our young people. Work hard for what you want. Do not kind of try the shortcuts. And therefore, as black people, I think we have to make sure that, yes, we work hard for what we want. We work not because of entitlement and rights and so on, but because it's something that we deserve. Now, if I speak to white people, I say, look, I also have another scripture for that one.
It must be out of the Old Testament.
It is still relevant. So Jesus said the Old Testament is still relevant. So that one, sometimes they tell me, Nangula, I was not here when all these things happened. I was born in 1990. And Terwood or somebody from Malan who did whatever, I don't even know them. My father doesn't know them. I said, okay, let me give you one scripture. So in Israel at the time, there was rain that was gone in the time of David for a couple of years. And David asked God, okay, so why don't we have rain? What is the problem here? So the message came that you remember there was the children called the children of Gideon. The Gideonites, the Israel made a deal with the Gideonites because they tricked them and they said that they will not kill them. He said, but Saul in his time, he killed the Midianites. So you are not sovereign. So it was Saul. David was not even part of the story, and the children were there. So Saul killed the people, but now God is holding Israel and David is holding. So I said, therefore,